Dude, would you stop?
What?
God, I hate that.
Hate is a strong word.
Okay, I despise and detest it.
Well, can you explain exactly why?
Hello and welcome to the darkened room of music conversation. I'm Chris.
And I'm Darren, and today we're going to discuss a song that is possibly the most hated song of all time. I'm sure you've seen these polls that take place all the time, every year, most hated songs. This song, a lot of times, universally, is at the top of this list. We're talking about We Built This City by Starship. And we are going to put ourselves in the difficult position of trying to defend that song.
That's right. We're going to challenge ourselves a little bit, especially since a 2011 Rolling Stone Readers poll ranked this song #1, and the margin was so huge that Rolling Stone said that it was the largest blowout in Readers poll history.
Well, there you go. There you have it. And I would be kind of curious the science behind how they do their polls.
Yeah.
I'm a little skeptical, but that's okay.
Right, yeah. I'm a little skeptical of all those polls, too, because, again, it's just an opinion.
Exactly.
You know, and so how many did they sample, blah, 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 you know, you
right.
get it. So.
Right. All right, so the song came out in 1985 on Knee Deep in the Hoopla, that was the name of the album, with the revised name Starship. Right. Paul Kantner had left the band in 84 after the Nuclear Furniture album, which I really liked that
I loved that. I loved No Way Out.
No Way Out was great.
Song.
Landed on the Line, great stuff. More AOR, hard rockin' type stuff.
Right.
He was gone. There were lawsuits flying everywhere. Hello, Pink Floyd. And they shortened the name to Starship.
Right.
And kind of streamlined their sound a little bit, went after the real modern 80s production and all of that.
Yeah.
I've heard the album all the way through. There's some absolute garbage on there. There's a few songs that I actually like.
Yeah.
And when the song We Built This City came out in 1985, I personally liked the song.
I did too. I mean, I was 14 years old.
Right.
I was a musical sponge as far as the pop world goes. And if you look at that year, you know, there's actually a lot of throwaway stuff mixed in with some absolute classics.
No doubt about it.
It was kind of a weird year that year for that kind of thing.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And you know, as far as how I feel about the song now in retrospect, I don't listen to the song. I don't celebrate it. You know, I would be just fine if I never heard it again. That's true. I'll openly admit that.
Sure.
I'm a huge Jefferson Starship fan.
Oh, yeah.
Was a huge Jefferson Airplane fan. This song wouldn't even make the top 50 of my favorite songs by now.
No.
My position is simply that I don't think it's as bad as it's portrayed.
Right. And I have a little nostalgia with it because I was a teenager, and it all reminds me of that era of my life. And, you know, as far as absorbing music, it was an awesome time in my life.
Sure.
So all that stuff is nostalgia for me. If I hear it, I don't hate it. I just think of being a teenager.
Right.
So, but it's one that I will definitely not press play on by choice.
Right. We won't seek it out to listen to it.
That's exactly
my
right.
position is simply, I don't think it's as hated as a lot of these people would lead you to believe.
I think you may be right, and that's the case we're about to make.
All right. So let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, now, we can kind of understand why people hate on this song a little bit. You know, it was from that first album after Paul Kantner left the band. So it was kind of like in the old era of Jefferson Airplane, Jefferson Starship had kind of broken away. And it was in the mid-'80s, and, I mean, look at this album cover. Talk about gaudy, flashy 80s.
Thumbs down.
Yeah.
Awful cover.
It's bad. And what's worse is the cover to the single. I mean, look at this.
Yeah.
This is just absolutely ridiculous.
That's bad.
Ridiculous.
I'm not defending that cover.
No, I won't either. And of course the sound of it. I mean, it was, you know, that 80s produced sound. It was, you know, thin keyboards, very heavy keyboards.
Very fake sounding.
Very formulaic. I mean, you know, I kind of get it. I can see why people dislike the song.
And even Mickey Thomas's voice has a very throwback high, you know, Mel singing in the high registers.
That's right.
You know, a lot of people don't like that. They get tired of that pretty fast.
Yeah.
So yeah, I understand all these things. I understand.
I get it. And the lyrics were incredibly cheesy.
Yes.
I mean, it's about as cheesy 80s as you can get.
Right.
But now let's start defending it. Who are the songwriters on this song? This is some heavy hitters here.
Yeah.
And, you know, people that have a lot of respect in the songwriting world and the music world. It's really hard to grasp and wrap your head around how these heavy hitters can get this kind of criticism, considering all the work that they've done over the their whole career.
Well, I kind of have a theory for that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people felt like, hey, you've got all these talented people working on the song. We're going to go through the list here in a second because it's astounding. And I think that was one of the things that it's perceived as this big corporate song, this big corporate approach. It's nothing but a way to make money. And I think that was one of the criticisms of the song, is that, look at all the people that's on it. They were just cashing in.
Yeah. Well,
that's the 80s.
I can kind of defend that, though, because there were so many things that these people had their hands on.
Yeah.
And it was, providing a lot of cash for them, too. So it's like they didn't do it out of necessity. So I don't think that was the motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bernie Taupin is one of
my favorite lyricist of all time.
One of the songwriters on this, and we know Elton John, Bernie Taupin. I mean, come on, how do you criticize this guy?
The guy who wrote Tiny Dancer. Come on,
exactly right. Now Martin Page.
Yep.
He did a single in the '80s, "House of Stone and Light."
That was the '90s.
That was the '90s.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Great song.
I love that song.
Me too.
He's a great, talented artist. I mean,
before that, he was well known as a lyricist and songwriter.
That's right. Yeah. Worked with Kim Carnes, Earth, Wind and Fire.
Yeah.
The Commodores. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Mister. On the Welcome to the Real World
Some of my
album.
favorite artists of all time here.
Exactly. Robbie Robertson from the band. I mean, he helped with his first solo album.
Heart and Go West.
Yeah, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah, and Bernie Taupin, by the way, speaking of Heart, he actually wrote These Dreams also.
That's right, he did. Yeah.
So he was, at the time, was a really hot commodity outside the realm of Elton John.
That's right. And all these songwriters seem to have a little crossover, cross-pollination. They were kind of, knocking around in the same circles.
Very
in
true.
this mid-'80s era.
Yeah.
Dennis Lambert, in fact.
Rhinestone Cowboy.
Rhinestone Cowboy.
Bloodline.
That is correct.
He helped with the Glenn Campbell records, two of my favorite records of all time. So.
That's right. He was mentored by Quincy Jones.
Yeah.
Now, how much more credible than that can you get?
Quincy
Jones,
at
right?
the top. Yeah.
Yeah. He worked with Jerry Lee Lewis in the early years of his career. Helped out Stills and Croft, Four Tops, Player, Baby Come Back. He had a co-writing credit on that.
Yep.
Dave Koz, did you mention him already?
I think you may
have. Dionne Warwick, Little River Band.
Little River Band, yeah.
Come on. I mean, this guy's legitimate.
No question.
Yeah.
No question.
And then also Peter Wolf. Now, not the Jay Giles Band, Peter Wolf.
Not that Peter Wolf.
Right. He played keyboards for Frank Zappa.
Right.
Now, how much more cool and hip can you get than helping out Frank Zappa? I mean, come on.
Totally.
He played on the song Lunatic Fringe, read by Red Rider. Played with Chicago. He did arrangements for the Commodores also. Talking about that cross-pollination.
Yeah.
Kenny Loggins, Wang Chung, Heart, again, same songs there. Patti LaBelle, Lou Gramm, and the Scorpions.
Yeah, I guess one thing or one criticism or one thing that you could say is, well, how did all of these people collaborate and the song wasn't better?
Right?
If we had to play the other side.
Valid point.
Yeah.
But these are heavy hitters. I mean, they knew what they were doing.
No question.
They're talented and exactly right. Okay, so let's talk about the theme of the song.
Okay.
Yeah, this is actually kind of tough defending this song. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
This is
I really don't know what it's
about. Really? Okay.
It's a little confusing.
So I've done a little research on it, between the band members' interviews through the years, I kind of have an idea, a framework of what the song is about. And I've taken some notes, so I'm going to read a little bit of it. Basically, the song is like an argument between the band and a corporate executive. And they're claiming that this executive is marginalizing the band, ripping them off by playing corporation games. So, who counts the money underneath the bar is the line in there that kind of references.
Right.
The band kind of reminds the villain, which is the corporate executive, listen to the radio. Don't you remember? We built this city on rock and roll. Basically, I'm getting out of that, that rock and roll is rebellious, it's youth. It's all these things that corporations are not.
I'm starting to hate this song.
Are you really?
I never thought of it like this. And it's like, well, then why aren't they playing some damn rock and roll? There's nothing rock and roll about this song. It's not a rock song.
Well, you got to look at that year, 1985, and put it in perspective.
Yeah.
It kind of was a rock song.
True. And it did have a guitar solo.
It did.
Which I give it thumbs up for that. Because
there you go.
Craig Chiquiko is a marvelous guitar player. I think that's how you say his name, Chiquiko.
Yeah. We're talking 1985. I mean, it was certainly no, what came before that. It was no Eye of the Tiger or anything like that. Nothing that rock.
It wasn't Twisted Sister or Motley Crue.
This was a weird year for rock, though. So, and this is kind of what was coming out. And it hit #1 on the Billboard chart. At the time, it was considered rock. Looking back, though, maybe it's not.
Right.
And I can maybe understand the hate there as well.
Right.
So, you could call it not a rock song, but it does pay tribute to the rock and roll of the past years. I mean, it calls out the city by the bay in that little spoken word part in the middle. It calls out Cleveland, when it says the city that rocks. It says the city that never sleeps, called out New York City. All these hubs of the rock and roll history. So I think the song is really paying tribute to the music and less to the corporate record label.
And remember, the promotional singles left that part blank, where
they did. Yes.
Local DJs could put their own little splice in there if they wanted.
That's right. Yeah. So whatever
their own
station,
little taglines and stuff.
Whatever station was airing it could personalize it.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if I heard that in the Nashville market. It may have.
I remember hearing it.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, and maybe that idea came from The Heart of Rock and Roll by Huey Lewis.
They did that too. Yeah, it seemed like there was more than just those two that had done that. But But yeah,
it was a big thing back then.
It was a very big thing. Yeah, made you feel special when you heard the song on the radio. So yeah, it's a tribute. It's a tribute song to the great music that came before it.
Right.
And how can you hate that so bad?
Right. The concept is not a horrible concept.
It's not a horrible concept. So how could you absolutely loathe and despise it?
Yeah.
I can understand not liking it. It hasn't aged well.
Right.
But the hatred it gets is just undeserved.
And I don't know if I believe that it's hated as much. In fact, we did a little research, and we were looking at songs that were the #1 song before We Built the City and the #1 song after it. So what was the #1 song prior to We Built the City?
It had dethroned the Miami Vice theme.
Yeah, boy, when I think of great legendary songs, I think of the Miami Vice theme.
Right.
And I like the Miami Vice theme.
Yeah, me too. But
I like it.
It's one of those, it's like, I don't care if I hear it again.
Right.
I don't hate it.
Right.
I don't dislike it. I don't talk badly about it, but I can go the rest of my life without hearing it and be okay.
Right. And the song that was #1 after
was Separate Ways, Phil Collins, and what was her name? Marilyn Martin, yeah.
Total crap. I mean, let's face it. I mean, it's basically your typical AC song from the 80s.
Exactly.
And if you give me the choice of We Built the City and that or Miami Vice, I'd probably go with We Built the City.
Yeah.
I probably would.
I would too, yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So, and we checked out numbers on YouTube, and specifically I want to bring up the numbers that we saw on We Built This City.
Yeah.
Somebody had uploaded the official video.
I got 'em right here, dog.
And I guess it was 7 years ago. And it has been viewed 85 million times. And that is a humongous number.
That's enormous.
An enormous number. And it only had 21,000 dislikes. Now, I know you think 21,000. If you put that in context of 85 million views, and remember, when you're signed on to YouTube, you can only like or dislike something
once. That's right.
That is a percentage of 0.00024 of the viewers that watched that who actually felt motivated enough to say, I really hate this song.
Yeah.
And if you really hate this song, what are you doing watching it anyway?
Yeah.
And 85 million views compared to, by the way, we found the official video for the Miami Vice theme. It only had 77,000 views.
Yeah.
The song after that, the #1 song, 4.5 million views for Phil Collins and Marilyn Martin.
Yeah.
So this song is way more popular than people would have you believe.
That's right.
And it's way more liked than people would have you believe.
Yeah.
Once again, I don't care if I ever hear it again.
Right.
I'm not ever going to seek it out and listen to it. My position is simply, there are worse songs out there. It is not deserved of the worst song in music history.
That's right. And one of the points I want to make too is its frame of reference. 1985, if you know, I was 14. If you lived that era and you saw what was coming out in the music world, you would understand where this fit into it.
Right.
Because of the Miami Vice theme, Phil Collins' Separate Lives. All three of these songs, do you know what actually followed those on the #1 spot? Broken Wings by Mr. Mister.
One of the best pop songs of all time.
So we're talking a year that had a bunch of throwaway garbage and some absolute classics.
There you go.
Yeah. Tears for Fears were hitting the charts that year.
Yeah.
Everybody Wants to Rule the World. So, yeah, frame of reference.
Frame of reference.
It was just the time.
Right.
And it fit into that time perfectly.
And now that we have your attention, check out the old Jefferson Airplane stuff, Somebody to Love. White Rabbit, I think, is one of the coolest, most brilliant songs ever written.
Yeah.
Then, you know, go on to the 70s with the Marty Ballin fronted Jefferson Airplane and Runaway Miracles, one of my favorite songs of all time. Of course, when Mickey Thomas jumped on board initially with Jane and Find Your Way Back and all those songs. Yeah. Marvelous rock and roll material.
It's great stuff.
Really, really is.
And so, holds up well.
Holds up well. This is nothing compared to those songs, let me just tell you.
Yeah.
But it's not as bad as history tells you it is.
Yeah, is it indeed fair to criticize a formerly great artist for their latter-day sins?
Thanks for watching this episode of In a Darkened Room. You can find the link to this episode's companion Spotify playlist in the description. Darren and Chris welcome your comments. You can leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below. Follow In a Darkened Room on Twitter to receive updates and submit your ideas for what we should discuss in upcoming episodes. Darren and Chris are also on Instagram, so give them a follow there as well. All of these links can be found in the description below. While you're there, be sure to click subscribe and ring the bell.
All right, random topic time. And what do you say we draw from the bowl again? Huh?
I think it's your draw, bud.
Okay. We'll put it here and draw one out. All right. Favorite season and why?
Favorite season and why? Well, that's easy for me.
Yeah.
Fall.
Fall is great.
Yeah, I living in Tennessee, you know, we have these things called allergies and pollen.
Yeah.
And it's like the worst place in the entire world to live. In the spring, in the summer, it really hits me and affects me really, really bad. By the time the fall comes and it starts getting cooler and I just think the air feels cleaner. I can breathe better. The music sounds better. I'm happier when the leaves are dead. Oh, that sounds weird. That's my season, man, fall.
I'd have to say the transition from fall into winter for me, because the whole allergy problem actually goes away at that first frost.
Gotcha.
So as it gets closer to winter, that's my favorite time. I like a little more chill in the air than just fall provides.
And I love winter too. You know, we don't get as much snow as some of you out there, but I love snow and love any kind of wintry ugly weather.
We probably love it because we don't get much of it. If it was here all the time and piling up and starting to turn brown from the salt, we'd probably hate it.
This is true.
But yeah, there you go. Yeah, fall into winter for me.
Same here.
So we're pretty close to agreement on that. Yeah. Thanks for joining us for this episode, guys. We hope you found it interesting, and we'll see you again soon. Take care.
Well, I don't know if we're doing a really good job of ending this song. The deeper we dig, the worse this song sounds.
Yeah.